On April 4th, Patrick Lyoya, a 26-year-old refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, was killed by a police officer in the US state of Michigan. Video footage and experts said that the young man was shot in the back of the head by the police officer. This is yet another instance of a black man being killed by the police, and activists and the family have demanded justice. Lyoya's case also needs to be seen in the context of the violence faced by millions in the DRC, the same violence that Lyoya and his family fled from, hoping for a safer life. Kambale Musavuli from the Center for Research on the Congo talks about some of these issues.
Patrick Lyoya was a 26-year-old Congolese refugee in the United States. He and his family fled the DRC, fled for the DRC due to the war in the DRC. They went through Malawi. His family actually, they were directly affected by it in a very bad way. Unfortunately, even his mother is a survivor of a war in the DRC. And they went through a long process to even get to the United States. I think about someone living in the country, going to another, applying for refugee status, and through what they believe was a blessing, receive asylum to come to the United States, and lived in Michigan. And as they were there, living in Grand Rapids, the 26-year-old, one day on April 4th, was stopped by a police officer from the Grand Rapids Police Department. As he was stopped, there were questions asked of him, about the vehicle. And I watched the video. It's a very horrific video. I wanted to know what happened. Usually whenever there are police killings in the United States, do my best not to watch it because it stays with me. But for example, up until today, I have yet seen the assassination of George Floyd because I knew it will stay with me. But when it comes to him, particularly, I wanted to actually know what happened, because I've faced police violence before, and I wanted to understand the context as an immigrant in the United States, how one will interact with the police. Because as I say, I faced that before. So I watched this video and I saw how the officer was asking him questions. And you could see in his eyes, he was afraid. He was very scared. And as he even responded, and the way he reacted clearly showed that he was scared. You think about the rainy day, you are being pulled by the police, you have not done any crimes, and you are being questioned. With an officer carrying a weapon. So who wouldn't be afraid, especially if you are Black in the United States? Fortunately, right, there was a scuffle with the officer, which ended with the officer actually having him under his control. The officer was literally in the back of, on the back of Patrick Lyoya. And then at my surprise, as he was on his back, he just pulled the gun, shot him in the back of his head. And that literally made me pause. It made me pause because it brought back too many memories of unjust killings of Congolese people. Now, what's the context? Why am I even giving this explanation? Patrick Lyoya and his family survived a war that has been going on since 1996. That a war waged to get control of Congo's mineral resources. And that war has taken the lives of over 6 million people. So leaving the Congo as refugees, they are among the lucky ones who did not die. They ended up in Malawi and then in the United States. And when you hear the story, you understand the experience they went through in the DRC. They faced rebels with weapons where they had to run for their lives. They faced abuse in their way out of the Congo. And imagine facing rebels with guns, you are ending up as a refugee in the United States, and you're meeting a police officer who's speaking to you in a tone that's very aggressive, which of course is going to take you back to the moment where they lived in the DRC in the time of conflict. So his assassination reminded me of the millions of Congolese who have died. Since 1996, over 6 million Congolese have died. It reminded me of the thousands upon thousands of Black men and women who are brutally killed in the United States by the police force, right? With most of the time, no justice or accountability for the murder of the Blacks and people of color who were assassinated by the police. But all of that comes from the framework that the lives of people of color are not valued. Are not valued. Why am I saying that? Over 6 million Congolese have died in the Congo since 1996, and the conflict has ended. We are fighting for justice for Patrick Lyoya. And you know how long it took to even release the name of the officer. They hid the name of the killer, saying pending investigation and so on. Now, imagine if what happened to Lyoya was happening in Ukraine and what the world response will be. That we know and we see that when there is political will on the part of quote-unquote world powers or institutions that be, there can be a swift response for justice. But unfortunately, in the case of what's happening to people of color, it's not happening. I mean, just this past week in the news, we're hearing of dozens of Congolese have been killed and massacred in the northeast part of the Congo. The killing is being attributed to a militia group called Codeco. This is a weekly occurring in Congo where different militia groups are assassinating the local population. No justice for Congolese in the Congo, and still no justice in the United States for the killing of people of color. But the situation has brought the Congolese community in the United States together, from the east side of the United States to the west side of the United States. Congolese communities are mobilizing, are organizing, because all of us have seen that video. All of us are not understanding how could this happen in a country where many people believe around the world is a land of justice, land of accountability. And we're seeing that that's not the case. That's why many people come to the United States, hoping that they will have a better life. And then realizing in the end that you are still a Black person and you will still be treated as less than a citizen. But as I say, Congolese people are coming together. In the Congo, the US ambassador was summoned by the Congolese government. They were questioning. He has shared that there is an investigation pending, but we know that if pressure is not kept, the case of Lyoya may go without accountability. So it's important for ordinary people, wherever they are, to stand with the Congolese people, to stand with all who are working for justice for Lyoya, and not just for Lyoya, for all people who have been unjustly killed in the hands of the police in the United States or anywhere around the world. Now, for those who want to see justice, to continue to support those of us who are fighting for justice for all oppressed people around the world.